What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys. Glad to be here tonight. Got a big show planned for you. Before I dive into that, tell you what's going on. If you could do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Tonight's a good night as well. If you're not in the chat, get in there. If you've never done a super chat, try it out, put it in there, ask some questions. Got a very special guest on the night. Big fan of this gentleman. We're going to dive into a little bit of want to hear an unbiased opinion of these Buckeyes, right? Do a little scum hating like we love to do on this channel because that's what they deserve, right? And talk about the national landscape a little bit on where we see certain teams falling. Buckeyes are number one. Is there a team that's going to give them some trouble in the playoffs? And just go with the flow, man. Sports Talk Jay, we're going to bring him on here. You guys know who he is. Been on Scoop before. Jay, what's up, brother?
Hey, man. Ready to rock and roll.
Yes, sir. College football, great time of the year. Obviously, I cover the Buckeyes a lot. You cover a lot of the SEC. But we did get connected a little bit more here in the offseason due to a certain team doing a certain something. That certain team, scum. I call them scum. They're known as the M word. But obviously, sign Steelgate. You go out this year, they got Bryce Underwood on the field. Never seen a freshman like him ever. He was right about that. We haven't. Threw for like 76 yards last game. And for some reason, I can't pinpoint it, but they're not beating the spread. They're not winning very many games. And it's just like something has drastically changed recently in their program to make them go back to the average program that they were 20 years prior. You have any thoughts on that before we start off? I love this. I just love it.
Well, what was it? Justin Spiro that covered it as well as anybody I've ever seen with the spread breakdown.
Yes.
This team that was right at 50% all of a sudden jumped up to around 70%, started beating Vegas for 3 straight years. Then suddenly Connor left and they went right back to 50%. Just magically. And instead of losing, they lost, 3 games in 3 years with Connor there. And now they're averaging losing 4 or 5 a year like they typically do. Now, of course, they completely upended the rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan, where y'all had won 15 out of 16 years, I believe it was. And then Connor showed up and it all changed. And normally I root for the underdog. Like I typically would have rooted for Michigan just because they were the underdog. But to find out how they got that turned around, and then find out all the other teams and all the other conferences that were affected by the sign stealing, in my opinion, I changed my attitude towards that. And had they taken their punishment, admitted guilt, and said, hey, we screwed up. We didn't realize that it was this bad. We'll deal with it and we'll handle it the proper way. I would have cut them some slack. But they fought it the entire way. And all they got hit with was a penalty. They didn't lose anything, nothing. And then the show causes are meaningless. The head coach has a show cause. He's still coaching. My coach that we had, Bruce Pearl, what we loved as a basketball coach, got a 3-year show cause. We weren't allowed to keep him. We had to get rid of him, and it was over a barbecued sandwich. So, and he admitted, I screwed up on that, but it was too late. But Michigan has a different set of rules.
Yeah, there's actually has been some new news on this subject, and I want to back up to the funniest, craziest thing out of the whole thing is the NCAA and the infractions saying that a postseason ban is required in this case. That was literally their verbiage. That's what they put, and then they don't get a postseason ban. Well. Right after all this, they a huge fine makes sense. The NCAA losing a lot of money, or not, they need to bring in some money, so they fine them with money. The whole thing just stinks. And then you hear right afterwards that scum is going to fight these allegations. They're going to take him back and fight against the very light penalties they got in the first place. Well, here recently they just came out and just said, you know what? We're innocent, okay, but we're just going to accept what you gave us. We're not going to go fight these things. And that is the pattern. Hey, we're going to suspend Jim Harbaugh. You try that, we're going to sue you. They suspend Jim Harbaugh. They don't sue. hey, we're going to fight these charges if you hit us with something. And now we're back to square one with no, they're just going to roll over and take these things. Why? Because they know what they did. It's kind of old news, but it did get brought up here recently that they're not going to fight these allegations. They're going to accept it. You got anything to say about that?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, that is the pattern. And look, they should be thrilled. They should be absolutely thrilled in that they got away with it with a small penalty. And to me, it's a small penalty because of the damage that it did. How many coaches lost their jobs, careers were ruined, teams lost their bid to go to the playoff. I mean, there was just so much damage done by this, and they got to pay $30 million, which that's a lot of money, but not when you've got a donor that's worth billions and billions of dollars that they have. That, you know, I figured out the amount of money he would have to give of his personal income, and it was 0.5 zeros and then a 6. That's how much he would have to write a check for out of his personal income or his worth.
Yeah. So, yeah. Bro, I watched that show you did. You had me rolling, dude. I at the time, the only thing I could do was just laugh at what was going on with the situation, because I followed it very, very closely. Did a lot of shows on it, you know, connected with Scoop. They were like leading the charge there with Spiro and Intrinsic, and we had all these things. And then the notice of allegations comes out, and then the penalties come out, and it's just like, did they really just say that a post-season ban is required in this instance, but we have decided to give them an equally financial punishment? I'm like, they don't equal up. But anyway, old news, right? They got to put it on the football field. They got to go out and show how to play. I watched that Michigan State game. Point is, they don't look very good, and they're back to having to just beat people square up. And I think they've only lost 2 games this year, but they're not looking too hot doing it. But on that note, on the other side of the ball, the Ohio State Buckeyes, man, and I always get curious about this because as a Buckeye fan, I am well aware that there are times when I have my scarlet glasses on some of my takes and some of the things that I think, right? Well, you look at this year, opened up with Texas, not too exciting of a game, but we came out with the W, right? And we end up seeing Texas, Arch Manning, not what everybody was speaking him up to be. Then we go out, play Washington, beat their 22-game home streak. Julian Sam, number 1 quarterback, completion percentage, adjusted completion percentage, QBR, of course, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. And it looks like these Buckeyes are on a roll. I didn't even mention Matt Patricia and his defense. So from where I stand, the visual test for me, and yes, I've watched Indiana. I watched Alabama against South Carolina last week, looked a little shaky. The Buckeyes seem like the number 1 team right now. Not that that matters, right? It doesn't matter. You can look like the number 1 team right now. It matters in the playoffs. But just give me your thoughts on these Buckeyes, offensively, defensively, wherever you want to start from an unbiased opinion. SEC guy looking at these Buckeyes play from however much you have. What are your thoughts on these Buckeyes, man? Do you see a lot of weaknesses? Do you see a pretty stout team?
Yeah, I've been doing pick'ems every week, and I usually do the top 25. I've been picking Ohio State against the spread, actually with the spread every time. And so far, y'all been covering, I think, darn near every time or most of the time, mainly because I know that I haven't seen anybody that could really cover Jeremiah Smith out there. And then you've got the other 5-star wide receivers. Then Caleb Downs on anybody's defense changes that defense dramatically, because I consider him to be the eraser. You know, when y'all picked him up from Alabama, that was, man, I'm telling you, Kalen DeBoer should have figured out some way to keep him, because that guy really changes the defense. I'm sure Jim Knowles has got to be thinking, what have I done? What have I done? I mean, he left a great situation, went to Penn State. Now his head coach is fired. And he's going, crap, you know, am I just going to get let go too and just get my buyout? And there you are. And that turned out, I thought that was such a strange move for him right after winning a natty. The Chip Kelly thing made perfect sense to me because, you know, going to the pros, you get more money. And he actually took less money, obviously, to leave UCLA because that was an impossible situation. But I understood him leaving. And when you win a natty, you're going to lose coordinators. That's the way it is. The Knowles thing didn't make any sense because that was a sideways lateral move at best. And so no sense there. But no, I mean, when you've got the best offensive player and you got the best defensive player on either side, and then Julian Sand looks great, especially for a redshirt freshman. Very accurate, makes good decisions. He's got a very clean pocket, and that helps any quarterback. So he's building up his confidence. Ohio State is gettable, but every team's gettable in 2025. I mean, that's just the way that it is because of NIL. Indiana looks fantastic. I mean, they are cleaning people's clocks that they've got no business doing. This Kurt Signetti guy must be the real deal. Now, y'all handled them fine last year, but I think you'll end up, playing them in the Big Ten championship because you don't play them in the regular season this year, right?
No.
Yeah. So that's where you'll see them. That should be a fantastic game. I've looked at the rest of your schedule. I mean, you've got Penn State that is in shambles right now. Of course, you play them at noon because every game is at noon in Big Ten for Ohio State. And then you play Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers. I mean, that's a rest your starters series right there. You'll beat Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers by 150 total. I mean, they won't even give you a game, so that's great. You can rest your best players and run up their stats. Then you got to beat Michigan. I mean, and that's at Michigan. That's the only game you have any concern of moving forward. And you need to go ahead and take care of Penn State because who knows? They do have talent. This is a talented team. They're just in disarray. So take care of them, and I think you'll be undefeated going into Michigan. And then if you can get that stupid monkey off your back, you should be fine against. And then we'll see a great game between you guys and Indiana. That should be. I mean, that's a really great game right there.
Yeah. For me as an Ohio State fan, I was about to bring up this Indiana thing because last year, similar trajectory for Indiana. They were, for instance, the Nebraska game. They absolutely smoked Nebraska. The Buckeyes went in there and barely beat Nebraska. This year, who do we just play? I forget what team it was, but Indiana blew them out. I can't believe I'm forgetting who it was. And we came in and dominated them as well. I think it was Wisconsin, but when they put up 34 points, like Indiana put up a wild amount. Mm-hmm. But then you saw what happened when Indiana, came into the horseshoe last year. And my mindset behind that, but it's so difficult too, it's like the talent difference, right? The talent difference on each team. Both teams are being coached at an elite level. Both teams are very disciplined and do their assignments very well, don't make mistakes. But one team is full of just a different level of talent. And I think you saw that a lot last year. Indiana came into the horseshoe and could not block our defensive line for nothing. I think we had like 7 sacks that game or something kind of crazy. So I'm very intrigued about that game. My answer before last week on, hey, who would give the Buckeyes a run for their money was Alabama. But there's a lot of inconsistency there with Alabama opening up with FSU, the way that went. We saw the team FSU is. And South Carolina gave them that game last week, if you ask me. I mean, you probably are in on that a little more than I am. But what I watched of that game, it was like, oh, my goodness, dude. South Carolina seemed to be dominating the game the whole time and just made stupid mistakes. But from where I sit, that's a big talent gap to overcome with Indiana, playing Ohio State. But they're, like you said, man, Coach Sig, with what he's doing over there, and I love it. I love that college football has done this. Some people don't. I like that you have the Indianas coming up, right? NIL and all these changes in college football gives teams like this the opportunity. Texas Tech, you see what they're doing all kinds of things. So that's my take. What's your thoughts on the talent differentiation between both the teams when it comes to the head-to-head?
Well, fortunately, if Indiana plays Ohio State, it won't be at the shoe. So that'll help.
Yeah.
It's hard to win there. It's hard to beat anybody at home. It really is, especially if it's a talented team with a big crowd. It's just tough. I think that'll be an interesting matchup. Indiana's going to come in confident. And I think the biggest issue that Ohio State's got to deal with is last year they had a huge, huge chip on their shoulder after the Michigan game, and they played like their hair was on fire for about 4 straight games. This year, it's not going to be like that. You are the hunted, and you'll become the hunted in the playoff, and the expectations are really high. So it's going to be, you got to figure out a way to get that chip back on your shoulder going into those playoffs. And playing Indiana might do that for you. It might end up being the best thing for you, whether you win or not, which, you probably will with the talent. But if you don't, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes, a team, it's so hard being undefeated the entire year, but especially if a lot of these teams don't test you, like this Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers 3-game series, there's no test there at all. None. Yeah. I mean, you will not feel 1% of stress before that game, during it, or after. You're just going to be like, well, let's kind of watch our guys. Hopefully, your only concern will be, I hope nobody gets hurt. That'll be it. Everything else, you'll be like, we're going to win by 30 or 40 or 20 or whatever, and you'll be fine. It's just being the undefeated, not really faced any adversity this season. That'll probably be the toughest thing to deal with.
Yeah, I like that you bring that up too, because that's a question that circulates. Because last year, after we won the Natty, I'm on record saying I don't think we win the Natty unless the game happens at Scum the way that it happened. That heartbreak happens, and the team has to have that team meeting, come together, go through that adversity. So there's that question floating around Buckeye Nation: is, do you want to see this team go through some adversity this year? And if you look preseason and you look at our schedule, right? Texas and Penn State, that was like, okay, that's some people's 1 and 2 preseason. Goes to show you how much preseason. Texas, I think it was a very big win for the Buckeyes. Not as we're seeing, Sark just barely beat Mississippi State game was something that was off the chain, by the way. And that's a whole nother subject. But you kind of see that might not have been the test that we expected. And then Penn State, definitely not the test that we expected. I mean, Ryan Day, press conference today, still calling it a matchup game. Yeah, you need to do that as a coach and treat it like that. But I think you're right. There is going to be no adversity for these Buckeyes, and they're going to go in. So they're going to have to find that chip that somewhere. And that is the biggest test, man. I think the Buckeyes are the only people that get in the Buckeyes' way. And this coaching staff, the biggest thing they got to do, and I like to hear Ryan Day has been saying this, is, hey, we got to tear these guys down. They're on top of the world right now. They're number one. The defense is number one. Everybody's talking about them. Julian saying, the whole thing. But you look at the schedule for the rest of the year, it's like we're not going to face, and I don't think we have faced an opponent this year that is anything like Indiana. So I agree with you on that point, bringing that up. When you talk about teams, this whole SEC, Big Ten stuff that's been going on for a while now, which conference is better? When you look in the SEC and it comes playoff time, the SEC, what teams do you think there are at the top, and your thoughts about them having the potential to go all the way with this thing and letting the Natty go back to the SEC this year?
The SEC has – it feels like an accordion right now. It's like the top teams are coming down and the bottom teams are coming up, and it's getting squeezed down because there's very little difference between the top of the SEC and the bottom. It's the least I've ever seen in my 50 years of watching football because Alabama's very gettable. Georgia, we had Georgia beat, and we hadn't beaten Georgia in forever. And like I said, we had this freak play against Alabama. Otherwise, we played them about even. And I'm just not – Texas A&M, I think, is pretty loaded, but they've got to get past their 8-4 mindset. That's probably – I don't see a team in the SEC that's like head and shoulders above any other SEC team. I'm just not seeing it. I mean, when Vanderbilt's in the top 10, that's our cellar dweller. I mean, Vanderbilt's always the worst team in the SEC. They should be, in the Ivy League. I've always felt like they're an Ivy League team in the SEC. And here they are. Diego Pavia is just, I don't know what the crap's going on with him. He's turned that entire team around. It's been shocking. But, I'm not seeing any world beaters in the SEC right now, which is odd.
Yeah, you got Texas A&M sitting at 8-0, Alabama 7-1, Georgia's number 5 in the AP poll, but you bring up Georgia Tech's number 8, Vandy's number 9. We got BYU in the top 11 this year. Texas Tech's up there. I believe Cincinnati has snuck in there as well. The world of college football as we knew it has changed quite dramatically. And I just wonder how much of that gets contributed to the way the transfer portal is now and NIL is, because it's changed mindset so much that this year already teams have dedicated $167.9 million into replacing coaches already. It's not November yet. That was something I read on Sports Illustrated. So hopefully that number's right. It sounds about right. I mean, James
It sounds
Franklin,
very right.
yeah, and Brian Kelly, there's $100 million right there. So it's like not much more to go after that. So, what do you contribute this thing to? Seeing the SEC do what they're doing, like you said, the accordion, and then teams like Vandy and Indiana and Texas Tech they're coming into the game, man, and it's like they've never been in the game for quite some time.
The parity that's been created by NIL, I think, is incredibly healthy for the game. All these, it's like regular teams feel like they have a chance now. I mean, when you see Indiana, what they're doing, that is just blows my mind. And what Vanderbilt's doing, Mississippi State's getting in on it, and everybody's going to start having the same amount of money. And the logo is not going to mean as much as it used to. Like LSU and Florida, they should be able to pick and choose their coaches. And of course, they're going after Lane. I don't know that Lane leaves Ole Miss, because what advantage is Florida versus UCLA versus Ole Miss? What's the advantage there? Because the reality is, I mean, crap. Sorry, I'm turning ringer off.
Oh, you're good.
It's the same amount of money. Why go to that pressure situation when you're loved at Ole Miss? You're doing great. You can win a natty there now, and you don't get fired if you win 9 games like Brian Kelly. The guy's won 9.5 games is his average the last 3 years. He gets fired paying 50 some odd million. James Franklin's been averaging 11 wins the last 3 years, makes it to the semifinals. Let's give him $50 million. I'm going to tell you what's causing this. And I just did a show on this, and I'm still fired up from it. It's spoil rotten fan bases is what it is. And they've got to have the best of the best, and they want that shiny toy that somebody else has got. Well, I got to have that shiny toy. There's Lane Kiffin. There's Josh Heupel. There's this coach, that coach. There's Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator last year. We got to have him. And they force the salaries up through the roof. And then the teams that want to hold on to their coach, they've got to pay an extra $1, $2, $3 million a year, and they've got to make a 10-year contract that's guaranteed 100% with a buyout for the coach of $12. Oh, I want to go to another team. It's $12, but if you fire me, it's $1 billion. Give me the state of Florida. Give me the state of LSU. And that's what's causing it. It's spoil rotten fan bases that can't understand. Go get a coach like Alex Golish from Florida, Southern Florida, or go get John Summerall from Tulane. They're great coaches. You can get them for 5 years at $6-7 million a year with a 60% payout if you get rid of them, and you're tripling their salaries, and they're good. And if it doesn't work out, you're not stuck for life. That's what's causing it.
You know, I knew there would be like resounding effects from this NIL thing when you just open Pandora's box like that and no rules in place, no nothing. It has now creeped in to the coaching world, like you say, because what you have is you have all these big time donors donating a lot of money to get these players because they've donated $100 million and the team still doesn't win a game. Who they're going to look to? They're going to look to this coach and they're going to say, well, we just donated $100 million. It's only $50 million buyout. Shoot, man, I've already got all that money in this. So let's go out. Let's get rid of this coach. Let's pay the buyout. Let's do this. It's like, when is this train or this like snowball effect going to stop with NIL? We have COI out there trying to come up with these rules that nobody is paying a lick of attention to whatsoever. Do you see an end to this at any point in time? And if you do, a roundabout way of what your thoughts are that could end this, or is it just too late? Is it just it's going to roll how it rolls?
Collective bargaining is the only thing that's going to stop the snowball effect once the players have representation, and because that's where it's going to end up anyway. There's no way to stop it. The House settlement's just a interim thing. It's a Band-Aid on the situation. As soon as somebody doesn't get their NIL money, they're going to sue and they're going to win. And then it's going to Katie bar the door. So they'll have to do that. But one of the biggest problems that we've got back in the SEC, and this was not long ago, you never, ever went after somebody else's coach. That was just something you didn't do. Everybody understood it. It's the way it was. Now, they'll go after your coach in a heartbeat and be in the same conference, not even think twice about it. So now you've got conferences fighting each other or the teams inside and it pushes up the salary so crazy that everybody that has a decent coach winds up upside down. And then, maybe they have a good year or two and then they suck for a while. Then you've got to pay them $50 million to leave. I mean, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of not having any standards or rules on this that make any sense. And the fan bases are the big driver of it because they are they want that win so bad that they put tons of pressure on the administration, and then they leave. The second they're playing bad, the third quarter, the entire crowd leaves. They all leave. And then the athletic director's going, oh, God, oh, no, what are we going to do? Oh, God, I got to go get Lane Kiffin. And, I mean, it's all panic everywhere. You see it every game.
I know. It's kind of wild what the game has turned into. There's still things about it that they love. I am so far with the way Ohio State has handled it. Of course, I'm pretty in tune with how they handle it. I like the way they handle it. They don't go after chasing these kids, paying a quarterback $1 million, a running back $1 million. Now, Will Howard probably got $1 million. He did get somewhere around $1 million, but definitely not a high school kid. They're not going to do that. But when you look at the landscape of college right now at Ohio State, right? Penn State job is open. Okay. The Penn State side is saying Brian Hartline is the number one candidate. They're over there on the message board saying, hey, there's verbal agreements made already. There's, real like Nittany Lion sports reporters saying Brian Hartline is one of the top candidates right now. It's the middle of the season, and we're sitting here having this conversation. College football, it's just off the chain. I still love it, but there are things about it that, like you said, the collective bargaining thing, I've never got into that side of it and tried to think of what's going to stop this. It's almost laughable at this point that they put that, COI in and they're trying to enforce these rules, yet they haven't even come up with the rules yet, as is my understanding of the situation. But going to be an interesting year. We'll see when we go to 16-team playoff, and then we'll get up to 32 one day, and then maybe 64. We'll shoot for 64-team playoff. Dude, do you think that's going to happen? And have you seen, on the outside looking in, have you seen the regular season games lose a lot of their power? That's something I was afraid of. Is that something you see on your side?
I haven't seen the regular season lose. It's going to lose some, but I almost think that's a good thing only because of this. When you're Ohio State, for example, like last year, you wouldn't have gotten in the playoff. You guys would not have gotten in. And you wound up, winning the Natty, and it was pretty clear. And you're going, dang, when it was down to only 4 teams, you make one mistake. One mistake's all it takes. And I don't think that's right. During a whole season to where one game totally knocks you out of winning the whole thing. I can't stand it. And then you've got other conferences that just some team goes undefeated and doesn't play anywhere near the schedule that you've played, and they get in. And having 16 should be the limit. I would never go past 16, but it'll probably end up going to 32. It's probably going to be like the NFL at some point. It almost has to, just because of the money. But as far as the regular season goes, the end of the regular season now is super important that it was not before. For all those middle of the road teams, when you only had 4 or 2, you were out by the middle of the season. Now you get to the end and you've got dozens of teams that are like, oh my God, we could get in the playoff. We still have a chance. And they're watching those games like crazy. And I think, you take the good with the bad. It's helped on some level and it's hurt on others.
Yeah, for sure. Ohio State wise, people are talking about, like last year, the question was asked, would you rather win a Natty or would you rather beat Scum? And believe it or not, I'm the win the Natty. I'm on the win the Natty side. There's a lot of Ohio State fans that are on the other side of that. No, I want to go beat my rival. Like, that's how important that is to them. But because here's why, because that game used to be, you lose that game, there's no shot at the national title. And like you said, it has changed that. So it's at different levels, man. But Jay, how do you see this thing playing off, man? You see all these teams out here. We watched what Ohio State did last year. Have you done any shows, given some predictions about what teams you see kind of going all the way? I don't want to put you in a spot, and make you pick right now. If you have it, if you want to save that for your show, totally understand it. But if you had to pick right now, how would you see this playoff playing out? Like 4 teams that you'd see it in the playoff at the end of the year. Who would you pick?
Well, in the Big Ten, OSU and Indiana. In the SEC, I think Texas A&M, maybe Alabama, maybe Georgia. One of those two, or Ole Miss has a tendency to back off at the end of the season, but we'll see. I'd probably pick them. One thing I would say is that I don't miss about the 4-team playoff. I got tired of watching Alabama, Georgia, OSU, and Clemson every freaking year. I mean, that's not fun for the rest of us. It's not. It's very not fun. So it's great to have the 16. And like I said, for the Ohio State fans that are like, no, we want it back to 4. Again, you would have not won the national title last year. So that's the best argument in the world to say, maybe it's not such a bad thing that losing one stupid game ruins your entire season every year. Because that Michigan game, how anybody could say I'd rather beat Michigan than win a national championship blows my mind. I mean, look, I understand disliking your rivalry, but this thing, I've never seen a rivalry like this, except Alabama and Auburn were pretty bad. But this thing between OSU and Michigan is amazing. I mean, it's a hell of a spectacle to watch, and it makes me want to watch the game even more. I mean, I can't wait for that game at noon up in Michigan, because it's when 2 teams can't stand each other, you just get it. It's just amazing what you get out of it in the game, because it's just so stressful, and it's great viewing. I mean, I will tell you, you're going to get 25 million views on that thing. Is who's going to, and it's at noon. It's at noon, and that's how many people are going to watch that game.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I'm telling you, on my show, a couple different times, we talked about that subject right there. What would you rather? Would you rather beat them or win a national title? And when I said win a national title, you should have seen my comments after the show. I should go pull them up and post them on Twitter, because it was like, man, you're not a real Ohio State fan. What the heck are you talking about? Like, I had to remind people, hey, we're on the same team here, right? We're both rooting for the Buckeyes, okay? It's just
dude, a natty's
a different
forever.
way of thinking.
That's forever,
know, bro. I know. I know. I know. I love that. Man, dude, it's hard, to be honest. If I'm sitting here being honest, watching what they just did, and I know it sounds like a whiny OSU fan, whatever people want to say, but watching what they just did to the whole sport of college football, man, it just took so much away from that rivalry for me. Like, they lost a ton of my respect before. They had my respect in a rivalry type of way. You know what I'm saying? Didn't like him at all, but I'm like, hey, we better be prepared for these guys. Now it's like, man, we still need to be prepared for them, but they just don't deserve to be a part of something this special to a sport that they just absolutely spit in the face of. And it goes way beyond what they did. Your show probably talked about this aspect of it better than any other show, was the effects it had on everybody else, right? Like, it was this Buckeye Ohio State world that we were living in. How did sign stealing affect us in our rivalry? But dude, there were reaching implications to what they did to the sport of college football. So it's a rough thing for me, man. My dislike for that team has went to a whole new level. Watching them this year, taking selfies before the game's even over. It's just like, bro, I can't even. College football is changing, and as you can tell, I got a little bit of hate for scum. But Jay, dude, I appreciate you coming on, man. You got any final thoughts on football this year, football in general, your team, Tennessee? What's up, Tennessee, man? What are they going to do? Any final thoughts?
Well, I'm hoping we somehow get into the playoff. I don't think our defense is going to allow it this year. Last year's defense was good. It was good enough. Our offense wasn't. This year, our offense is number 1 in the SEC, but our defense is next to last, and it's really hard. I think it's going to be our Achilles heel against, whether it's Oklahoma this weekend or whether it's against, God, please tell me it's not going to be Vanderbilt. Oh, Diego, he's already said that they were going to not only win the Natty, but they were going to run Tennessee. And I was like, this guy's crazy. And they're number, what, 8 or 9 in the country right now.
They are.
And
yeah.
I like watching that guy play. I can't root against him.
It's good.
I mean, I respect what he's done. You know, you were talking about Michigan. I just wish Michigan would have come clean so I could respect them, because I always did before, just like what you were talking about. I respected the hell out of Michigan. I thought they were a terrific program. They weren't winning like they wanted to, but I mean, they were a big-time university that everybody knew. Mm-hmm. And to cower down and do the crap they did, and just it's not worth it, Michigan. And I know there's people at Michigan that know this. They know it's not worth what you did, because 10 years from now, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, man, we flew too close to the sun on this. We got burned, and we're still feeling the effects of it, because there's a lot of people out there like, we don't respect what you did. And I don't have any personal animosity towards them, with the exception of this sign stealing thing. And it's just like, how am I supposed to respect you when you've done that? How? I don't get it.
I know.
It's not good long term.
No, I feel the same way. It's like, why didn't somebody just come? I mean, and just clean house and say, hey, right, these guys did this, right? I don't care.
How about a damn apology? How about an apology for cheating? I'm sorry this happened. We hate it happened. We're fixing it, and we're moving. Look, we paid players $64,000 under Jeremy Pruitt. We fired everybody. We apologized. We lost 25 scholarships, $8 million. And by God, we moved on, and that was it. And we wound up getting Josh Heupel right after that. And maybe that was a reward of doing the right thing. You know, we gave the evidence to NCAA. We handed it to them. They didn't have to. They didn't have to do a thing.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted Michigan to do, and I would respect them forever for that. But the way they handled that, at some point, somebody at Michigan needs to say, "Yeah, we didn't handle that well." I mean, do some mea culpa here, okay? Help me help you.
How about bet? You know, they would respond to you with bet. #bet, the president of the university. But I feel the pain there. How about you just take a second? I don't know how much you know about Tattoo Gate, but just think.
That was I mean, that's so much less than $64,000, and you lost your coach over it and all that crap. It's just like, that's back when the NCAA was just really very different than they are now. Now they're just a paper tiger. They don't really exist except to run a basketball tournament. That's it. That's what they're there for.
I know. Yeah. Well, Jay, dude, I appreciate you, man. Had a heck of a time, guys. If you don't already follow this man, or you probably already do if you're listening to this show, but if you don't, go check him out, man. Very entertaining, very, very good at what he does. Watch his stuff all the time. Jay, appreciate you joining, talking a little Buckeyes, talking a little college football. It's what I love to do, man. We'll catch you next time, brother.
Hey, no worries. Thanks, Dev.
All right, take care.
Okay.
Well, there it is, folks. Sports Talk Jay, man. I've always wanted to do a show with him. Reached out to him, just nice as ever. Wanted to come on here. I'm always intrigued about. I was serious when I told him, you know, I like hearing other fans' perspectives on these Buckeyes and what they're doing this year. Ryan Day had his press conference today about the Penn State game, and I really love the way that he is approaching this, still calling it a matchup game, essentially act like nothing's happened over there, never brought anything up like that. But that's the way this game needs to be approached, because they still have the talent on the field. I probably would prefer Drew Aller be in the game, but they lost their starting quarterback. I never did think too much of him, man. So, but yeah, we'll get into that a little more this week. Second show for the day. Appreciate everybody that watched that first one. Appreciate everybody joining us for this one tomorrow. Got Daniel Sanchez coming on. Going to talk to him a little bit about some more Buckeye football, about his thoughts. He's got a little experience now. His son, Devin, been in the program for quite some time, getting some playing time. I'm really intrigued to get his thoughts on the development of Devin, not just as a football player, but as a man, and what he sees this Ohio State football program doing for his son this far into his career. Not very far, but far enough to where I'm betting he's seen some changes. So Wednesday, got somebody else coming on, drawing a blank right now, but Thursday, we got, wait, is today Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. Okay, so tomorrow, Sanchez. Thursday, Brady Edmonds coming on, the 2027 quarterback commit for the Buckeyes. Sorry, guys, been a long day. But again, appreciate you guys for showing up. Love you guys. Go Buckeyes. OH.